Hey friends, this is Angelica. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing how I put this card together using a few products from the Greetery, and I'm going to do some coloring. I haven't colored in a little while, so I pulled out some markers and thought it would be fun to turn on my camera so I can share my process with you. I'm going to die cut Bristol Smooth paper with the Roundabout Fall Foliage die. I die cut 3 pieces and then I put painter's tape on the back of these pieces to hold the die cuts in place. I'm going to be coloring with Zig Clear Color brushes. This is a larger set. I bought this set, I think, 4 or 5 years ago. Somebody had posted a sale on Amazon for these markers, and I I bought them immediately because I'd been wanting them for a while. Um, so this is the rainbow that I have. I did make this color chart when I got the markers. So I'm going to be kind of referencing this color chart when I start picking the colors that I want to use for the wreath. But the fine tip, which I had just shown on screen, makes coloring with these markers a lot of fun because you can barely touch that tip to the paper and it's going to give you some really fine, beautiful detail lines. Or you can push that brush a little bit more onto the paper and the tip kind of flares out like a watercolor brush. You can move the inks around with a watercolor brush and some clean water if you want, or you can use another marker, which is what I'm going to be doing in this video. I'm going to, well, with the stems, I started with a light color and then I wanted to add a little bit of detail work with a darker marker, but because these stems are so narrow that it didn't really work out because it's just such a small area to work with and the paper was still wet. I didn't let the stem ink dry before I came in with a darker ink. So I ended up just switching out my plan with the leaves and starting with a dark marker, blending that out with a medium marker, and then with a light marker. So I'm going to get different values in color on the leaves. With the lighter markers, you are going to see me brush some of the color off on the edge of this paper just to get the dark ink off of the tip and get the lighter ink flowing. I'll be doing that a lot because the tip does pick up that darker ink when it's moving the inks around on the paper. So if you are new to these markers, just know you can just, color with a scratch piece of paper and you can just wipe that tip off and have the original ink that's inside the pen come out. So I'm going to continue coloring this die cut. I'll keep all the coloring for this die cut on screen, and then I'm going to do the rest of the coloring off screen. I am going to bring in some music. I haven't put music on my videos for a while, so I'm going to turn on some music, let you watch how I colored this die cut, and then I will come back and talk you through how I put the card together. So now I am just doing the last of my coloring. I'm coloring that top, the ring, the top ring. So I have all 3 die cuts colored, and I did pick my favorite one out of all of them. So that would be the top of the wreath. So I'm coloring in the circle. I am using a dark gray pen to color in that circle. I'm doing my best not to get that ink into the leaves. I mean, I did get some into the leaves, but it's a handmade card. I'm not going to really, you know, fuss over it. I'm definitely not coloring another die cut. So I'm just doing my best to stay on the band. Also, I am making sure that I'm getting that fine tip in between the, like where the die cut, where the die went into the paper. I'm making sure to get the sides of the paper with ink too, so there's not going to be a white side. And I did that with the leaves and the branches. I just made sure to get that tip in those little grooves. I'm just going to go over it one more time and make sure I don't have any white on the edges on the inside or the outside edge. And then I'm also going to do this again with the other die cuts, except I'm just going to color. I'm just going to put ink on the sides of the die cut. So I'm not going to worry about the inside of the ring. I'm just getting the tip of that pen inside the groove and just, you know, coloring around in the circle, getting the outside side of the die cut dark gray, and then I will do that again on the inside. So when I stack these up together, hopefully there's not going to be white showing on the sides. Okay, now it's moment of truth. I got the painter's tape off the back, and I'm going to pop these out of their negatives. And, you know, I'm going to say this definitely is a trust the process project. So yeah, it looks like a hot mess when the paper is still inside the negative, but once they're out and glued together, this wreath turned out so pretty. It's so bright. I love these just vibrant jewel colors. So once I get this last ring glued on, and I am using art glitter glue to glue these pieces together, I'm going to sit this wreath under 2 acrylic blocks so the glue will dry flat. And we're going to move on to making a panel for our card base. I picked the die Herringbone Parquet Die to make the background. This die does not have a cutting edge, so you do want to have an A2 size panel already cut, and then, you know, fit it really straight onto the die before you run it through the die cut machine. It's going to imprint and then cut slits of this really pretty wood background. I'm going to put that on a card base, and then the circles that get die cut out of the roundabout, I'm going to use one of them to stamp part of the sentiment on. So the sentiments that I'm using is from Thanks Always stamp set. I picked the word thankful to use, so I die cut white cardstock with the coordinating die, stamped it with the word. I always die cut first before I stamp. For me, that's just the easiest to do. And then I'm going to put the circle in my MISTI. I do have a grip mat in my MISTI, so it's going to hold that circle, and I'm going to be able to put the second part of the sentiment on the circle, stamp that with black ink, and now the circle is ready to go inside the wreath. To put the card together, I used glue to attach the wreath to the card base. I did put a couple acrylic blocks on top of the wreath just for a couple minutes while the glue dried. Then I used glue to attach the circle. I did make sure that I had the line sentiment straight before I pushed that circle firmly onto the card base. And then for the thankful word, I used a couple thin foam squares to attach it to the card. And that is going to finish today's card. I absolutely love how this wreath turned out. I'm so glad I decided to use the Zig markers to color the wreath. It's been a while since I've pulled those markers out, so I have a feeling I'm going to keep them out so I don't forget about them and will be using them in future projects. So I'm going to leave a link to my blog down in the description. Also, I'll leave links to the products I used in this video. I do have more projects coming shortly, so be sure to subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on those videos. And I will see you again soon. Take care, friends.